What are you doing?
Filming?
Pictures of us?
Yeah.
Can I get your badge number?
0016.
Cool.
Is it shiny enough for you?
It's very shiny, sir.
All right. Give me your driver's license, Mr. Fifth Amendment rights.
You filming right now?
I am.
How come?
He's got a camera on. He's got a camera on me right now as we're talking.
All right, we are back here on Pardon the Dissent, and we are speaking with Andrew Henderson. Andrew has made a lot of news here recently here in the Twin Cities area about some cop blocking he was doing. And I guess first, Andrew, I'm going to get you to define what cop blocking is to me later on, and to the listeners who aren't really familiar with what it is. But why don't really first, want you to start, set up what you were doing the day that you were out shooting video. What were you doing? Where were you at? And why were you doing it?
Well, thanks for having me, Joey.
No problem.
Well, just to start out, I saw a couple of posts on Facebook from the St. Paul Police Department and the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office about their Click It and Ticket campaign. Now, they conducted a sting off of University Avenue where a couple officers would stand on a corner in full uniform and watch drivers drive by. And if they weren't wearing their seatbelts, they'd radio into their buddies to pull them over and issue them citations.
Okay.
And they were very happy about this. They got over $10,000 in citations issued that day. And, I thought to myself, I've seen a lot of officers not wearing seatbelts. So that following Friday, I went down to the Ramsey County Law Enforcement Center, where both the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office and the St. Paul Police Department are located. And I stood on a street corner where the officers come in and out with my video camera to try to capture them not wearing their seatbelts. And I didn't see any officers wearing their seatbelts that day. I recorded many officers.
These are all cops in patrol cars you're looking at? Is this
patrol cars and their own cars?
And their own cars, okay.
Right. I personally decided to cut their own cars out of my video due to concerns of mine for officer safety and privacy.
Right. That makes sense. That's kind of their own time there. If they want to break the law on their own, that's kind of their thing.
Sure. Yeah.
But when they're on the clock for us, that's a little bit of a difference. I want to ask first. Let me ask me this, because I was looking this up last night and I've never thought of it until I saw your video. Do you know if it's legal for first responders, cops, EMS, whatever, to drive without their seatbelt on? Like, I found some discussion forums of cops talking to each other about should we wear it, should we not wear it, and things like, well, it makes it easier for me to get to my firearm if I have to, or easier to jump out of my squad car faster to respond. But I couldn't find anything specifically for the state of Minnesota saying that it was legal or not legal. Do you have an answer for that?
According to Minnesota state law, it is illegal for them to not wear their seatbelts.
So they are required to, just like you and I.
That's right.
Well, as you're in the video, and first tell people where they can find this video to see it. Where can they?
My YouTube channel is www.youtube.com/thedrooks, THEDREWKS.
Okay. And for the podcast listeners, I will put a link to that on the podcast when it goes up. So when you're out there, you had some interactions with the officers who came over to kind of investigate what was going on. And some of them were, I would say, positive.
Oh, yes, very much so, yeah.
Some of them were friendly with you. Some of them knew who you were.
Right.
Okay. There was a turning point, though. There was one where the officer kind of sent you on your way and all that. Can you describe what happened during that interaction with that officer, and what was his concerns, and how that all panned out?
Most definitely. Well, I was standing on the corner, and this officer just came up on me.
Ironically, standing on the corner, just like the cops who were doing their sting operation.
Exactly. And this cop, came up at me, almost pulled up onto the curb, got out of his vehicle, and I asked him, what's up? And at that point in time, he detained me, demanded my driver's license.
And I don't want to graze over that, because you specifically asked, and just like anyone should, am I being detained? You asked that very clearly.
Yes, I did.
There's a difference between a cop just talking to you and a cop detaining you. And I heard on the video, he said, no, yes, I'm detaining you.
That's right.
Okay.
Then he asked for my ID. I asked him if that was a lawful order, and he said yes. I gave him my ID. He asked me if I had any warrants, and I was stunned by that because I figured, anybody with warrants wouldn't be standing outside of a police station with a camera. And I don't know how he correlated videotaping police to somebody having warrants, but he insinuated that I had warrants because of that. After he ran my license, he got out of his vehicle and started taking pictures of me with a department-issued camera. And after that, he told me that the public sidewalk was private property and that I had to cross the street to be on public property.
Okay. That was another part of it. Did you ever determine if the sidewalks that you were on in the area you were, was it public or private? Have you figured that out yet?
As far as I can tell, it is public property.
It is public property.
Yeah, from any aerial photography, property layouts that people have sent me, I see nothing that says it's private property. It seems to be a public right of way.
Okay. Did he? What charges did he? I'm going to use the word threaten, but that could be something different to somebody else. What did he say he could do to you from that point on if you didn't move, leave, whatever?
Well, he threatened to arrest me for trespassing if I didn't leave.
Okay. Interesting. How about this? Have you decided, or have you done it already? Are you going to file a formal complaint? Because to me, if somebody detains you unlawfully, in my mind, and by definition by the law, they have kidnapped you to a degree. He's preventing your movement. You have a right to free movement. Are you going to file a complaint about that and about the, saying that you were trespassing when you weren't?
Well, I personally don't believe in complaints. The internal affairs process is quite broken. I find that when coworkers and colleagues are allowed to investigate each other, very rarely do they find each other guilty of anything.
All right. Okay. You're absolutely right. I can't argue that at all. What else did I want to ask you about this specifically? How about this? What is then the public's reaction since this video has came out? I'm sure there's probably been some on both sides. Has it been more positive, more negative? What are you getting right now?
I get a lot more positive than negative. I do get a little bit of criticism. People criticize me for showing my ID. And there are a couple reasons I did that. I mean, I know I didn't have to. Mm-hmm. I've been in situations like this before. First reason is because I just wanted to document the police officers not wearing their seatbelts and, go home. It was a holiday weekend, a 3-day weekend. I didn't want to spend that weekend in jail. I had some good plans made for that weekend, and yeah, they turned out to be awesome. The second reason I did that is to show people that police will lie to you. That's why I asked them those specific questions. Am I being detained? Is it a lawful order that I have to show you my ID? I mean, he lied right there, and it shows the general public that police will lie, and they do lie.
I think you probably made a good decision because, like I said, even though it was be illegal for them to do that or wrong for them to do that, that doesn't stop cops from doing things that are illegal or wrong sometimes. And definitely want to compliment you. I watch a lot of the quote cop blocking videos, and you were very respectful, number one, and very informed. Obviously, you know what you're doing while you're out there. And you handle it right. And I think, would you consider what you're doing a form of activism?
Oh, definitely, yes.
Okay, so you're accomplishing your goal even by giving your ID. Of course, you don't have to, but your goal is to capture that interaction, and so other people can see the right and wrong and what's going on. So I think people that are giving you a hard time for that are just making a big issue out of nothing. Any other negative stuff that stands out to you that people are saying?
No, that's the biggest criticism I've gotten off that. Okay.
No one is saying, "Hey, leave the cops alone. They got a hard job as it is." Is none of that's coming out?
I get a little bit of that, but the police work for us, and there's a documented history of police abuse, not only in St. Paul or Minnesota, but in the entire United States.
All right. Well, that music means we need to take a break real fast. We're going to knock that out. And then we'll be right back here on Pardon the Dissent, and we'll talk more with Andrew Henderson and his cop-blocking adventures. If you want to listen to Pardon the Dissent, but don't always have time to catch us live, Each show is available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. You can also live stream Pardon the Dissent and listen to us no matter where you're at. Just go to pardonthedissent.com and follow the live streaming instructions. All right, we are back here on Pardon the Dissent, and we're talking with Andrew Henderson. And are you officially in a cop blocking organization, or how do you?
Well, I am an organizer with Minnesota Cop Block.
With Minnesota Cop Block,
right?
Okay.
There's quite a few organizers. We're a pretty loose group. No one's in charge of anybody. We all do our own thing, but we all share the same goal and interest, and we work together that way.
Okay. What is it that got you interested in? Well, let's start with this. First, tell everybody who doesn't know what cop blocking is, though I love the name of it. Explain to what is cop blocking.
Sure. Well, cop blocking is videotaping police, asking them questions, holding them accountable for what they do.
Okay. And it's not to be argumentative. That's not to do other than just to kind of be a check and balance with law enforcement.
Exactly. Cop blocking is founded under the premise that badges don't grant extra rights. Police officers shouldn't have any more rights than you and I do. They shouldn't be able to park in handicapped spaces. They should use their blinkers when they're driving. They shouldn't be able to drive without their headlights on.
How about killing unarmed citizens? Should they be allowed to do that?
Of course not.
Okay,
no.
good. Just wanted to make sure, because some cops don't know that. What got you interested in cop blocking?
Well, I was living in the north end of St. Paul. An individual by the name of Eric Hightower was pepper sprayed, and he was being placed under arrest by a St. Paul police officer. During this time, he was laying on the ground, choking on the pepper spray, and the police officer came up and kicked him in the chest. He wasn't aggressing towards the police officer at that point in time or anything.
It's hard to aggress when you're choking and can't breathe.
Right. And shortly after that, when they were placing him in the squad car, they pepper sprayed him in the ear. Now, I saw the citizen captured cell phone video of that incident, and I was like, wow, this stuff really does happen. We've all seen stuff like Rodney King and stuff like that, but it's
prior to this, were you one of those ones that like, no, they're blowing it out of proportion?
I was like, well, it might happen once in a while. There might be, a few bad apples, but then it, happened right in front of me, just down the street from my house. And then after that, I started paying more attention and saw more and more police misconduct and decided to start filming police interactions with citizens.
Right. And to add to that, I've kind of been in the same situation where you hear about it and you know it exists, but when you see it with your own eyes, you have like an immediate kind of sickness to you. It's like, am I really seeing what I'm seeing? And your brain has to kind of register it because, for so long, growing, I don't know about you, but when I grew up as a kid, cops are the good guys, they're the ones there to protect us. But when you see a cop physically hurting somebody who's not trying to hurt them, and they don't need to do that, it's a very powerful effect beyond just seeing it on a video.
It's a complete paradigm shift.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that there's not any good cops out there. I mean, there's plenty of good cops, but I want to keep everybody accountable, and that's what cop blocking does.
Fair enough. Another one, we're getting a little close on time here, but I want to try and touch on this story here. This is not your first kind of public interaction with on what I'm going to call bad law enforcement, right?
That's right.
Yeah. You had a interaction with law enforcement in 2012?
That's right.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Well, I came home from work one night. I was working second shift. Came home about 11 o'clock at night, and there was a couple deputies escorting an individual along with two paramedics. And I sat down on the bench outside of my apartment to smoke a cigarette before heading inside. And I witnessed the deputies patting down this guy, and so I brought out my video camera to film it. They patted him down. He smoked a cigarette, went in the back of an ambulance. There was no misconduct there, nothing. And then one of the deputies came up to me, asked me what I was doing. I said, well, I'm filming. She took the camera right out of my hand.
Like didn't ask for it?
Nope.
Physically
took it out of my hand and said if she ended up on YouTube, she'd be upset. she ended up bringing the camera home with her that night.
Well, first,
Sure.
now you objected to her, right? Did you?
Oh, of course,
you
yes.
explain to her that what you were doing was legal?
Yep.
What was that conversation?
I told her it was my First Amendment right to film. I was doing nothing wrong.
And her response?
Her response, she just said, I'm taking this for evidence.
Evidence of? She didn't clarify? That was just her answer?
Yep, just taking this for evidence.
Did she threaten you with a charge or anything at that time?
Not at that time, no. She and then she ended up taking actually my camera home with her overnight. And I got
that's kind of not chain of evidence policy right there. If it was evidence, that's total violation of it.
Right. And then I went down to the sheriff's office the next day to try to retrieve my camera, and they had no idea about this incident.
Did they have your camera?
They did not have my camera.
They didn't?
They didn't have my camera. They didn't know anything about this incident.
Okay, so what did you do from there?
Well, 10 days later, I got a citation in the mail for disorderly conduct and obstruction of justice. And shortly after that, I went to retrieve my camera from the sheriff's office, and they finally let me have it back. And when I reviewed the footage on the camera, it was all missing.
Of course.
Yes.
Did they have an explanation of why it was missing?
No.
Just magic.
Just magic.
Police magic.
Yeah, police magic.
Final resolution of the whole thing? No charges, no nothing?
Well, no, they charged me. I went through...
I mean, were they eventually dropped, or did you get...
No, I had to go through court. I went through a 16-month trial. Went through, you know...
Are you listening, taxpayers?
Yes.
You're paying for this.
Jury trial, 6-person jury. That lasted 3 days. I was found not guilty. That ACLU stepped in. I had a very good lawyer, so I was...
Did you please tell me that you went through and itemized and found out what start to finish the cost of the taxpayers were?
I found out in the city of Little Canada it was about $8,000 they've
invested in violating your constitutional rights.
Right.
That'd fill a couple potholes, listeners. That would definitely fix the roads with $8,000. I guess before we finish up here, have you, off camera, have you received any threats or harassment from cops since you've been doing what you're doing?
No. The cops have pretty much left me alone. I see them in public. They know me by name. I know them by name. Okay. It's pretty cordial for the most part.
Okay. And are you worried about your safety at all? They may not be, in your face or talking to you or harassing you, but we've got to suspect that there's some cops that are like, I don't like this guy, and I'm going to give him a hard time if I get a chance. Are you worried about that at all?
I am a little. One of my biggest fears is a police officer mistaking my camera for a firearm. That is honestly one of my biggest fears when I go out and do this.
Okay. It's an easy mistake or an easy excuse.
It is.
Even not, and it could be an actual confusing thing to a cop, but it's an easy thing because now we got justification for BB guns and things like that.
Skittles.
So I can imagine, and they just walk. That's crazy. Finish up with a couple more questions here. How about first, what's the advice that you would give to anybody interested in starting cop blocking, and what would you tell them? Kind of the do's and don'ts. Couple little things, words of advice for them.
Well, I'd say first educate yourself on the law. Watch other people's videos, to see how they do with police interactions, and also live stream all of your recordings. The cell phone app that I use is Bamboozer.
Okay.
It live streams everything you record straight to the web, so that if your cell phone or camera is taken away, there will be a backup on there that the police really can't destroy.
Good advice. And lastly, what is your advice for law enforcement that may actually be listening to this?
Well, my advice for law enforcement is to, behave. Let people record you. If you're not doing anything wrong, you have nothing to fear. Very good.
And finish up, where can you give your video website again, and any other places you'd like people to seek you out?
Sure. Well, my YouTube is www.youtube.com/thedrooks.
Okay.
And I have a Facebook, which is facebook.com/thedrooks.
Very good. Andrew, thank you for taking time and coming on the show and talking to us about this.
Very cool. Thank you for having me.
All right, man.
I don't need to be a global citizen. 'cause I'm blessed by nationality. I'm a member of a growing populace. Reinforce our popularity. There are things that seem to pull us under, and there are things that drag us down. But there's a power and a vital presence that's lurking all around. We got the American Jesus. See him on the interstate.
I hope you enjoyed that that pre-recorded interview that we put together with Andrew Henderson of. Oh well, thank you very much.
Say thank you very much, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Yeah. Apparently, there's 12,000 people in the studio right now clapping. Yeah, we had to. I never explained it in the first part of the show. We had to pre-record it because it actually works while we're on air. So we did that, and that's the way the interview came out. So yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed that. What do you think about, we want to do some cop blocking now with me, Tony? You want to do some cop blocking? You want to
Absolutely.
go film some cops? See what they're up to? They film us.
If I end up on YouTube, I'm going to be upset.